did you get into jiu-jitsu? What made you start jiu-jitsu?
God. I used to be big into watching
Porn?
UFC.
I'm still big into watching that. But, just watching a lot of fights at the bar or whatever. But never had the courage to like say, let me fucking try this.
Oh, so you're like the guy who tells people what they think is going to happen in the fight.
Okay, no, I wasn't.
No. Just stand up, bro. I wasn't one of those. I was not one of those. But I was always just like, how hard could it be? Is kind of what was in my mind.
I guess, yeah.
Like, let me give it a shot. And that's when I moved here to Texas, like 7 years ago.
I have been doing this for 5 years now because on our 4-year mark, there's a photo that pops up on my phone when we're together. Like
all of us.
Yeah, and that was 4 years ago, and I had a blue belt at this time. No. Anyways, regardless, I thought I'd been doing it for 5
I gotta
years.
look at my
That's weird.
Instagram because it's on there.
Anyways, sorry.
My fucking little brother decided to, let's go to some UFC gym.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, so I'm like, all right, let's try it. But lo and behold, like they had actually really good instructors. Everyone was real nice and taught a lot. Those guys that lifted weights and thought they were big and badass, and let me just give it a shot.
Yeah.
And there was a blue belt there. She was a girl. At the time, I was probably 200, 205, and she was like 130 pounds, and threw me on my ass, dog. Some judo, whatever the fuck those crazy Japanese ones are. Threw me on my ass, and ever since then I got hooked.
Yeah, that's similar.
I gotta stick with it. Because if she can do that to me, imagine what I can do to somebody else down the line. Well, they're together, but they're not there that.
Sure, yeah.
When I went to after like training there for like 3 months, they closed down. And I met Josh at a bar, and he's like, you train? And I'm like, oh yeah, a little bit. I mean, at the time, Josh was training at the Blue Basement at Henzo's.
To do meet your jiu-jitsu person outside of like if you don't know him and you see a jiu-jitsu guy,
right.
It's exciting. You're like, oh,
that's a little bit bigger. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's like, damn, okay, with Henzo.
I feel like shit because I should be way
No.
Your favorite? What was your favorite moment in jiu-jitsu, like competing or just in general? Like your favorite, like, I guess, yeah. What's your favorite moment in this sport?
I don't know, there's a lot of good times. Getting my purple belt was a pretty big moment to me.
Oh yeah, he was crying.
Yeah, I'd cry. I'm an emotional
me
guy.
and Trevor were like, Trevor was
betting.
like, we didn't like make an initial bet, but we were in line like waiting for the promotion, and we knew we knew you were gonna get your purple belt at this point. We had talked, to Rocky and stuff, so we knew you were gonna get it. And Trevor was like, how much do you want to bet he cries? I'm like, he is not going to cry. He's going to be emotional, but I don't think he's crying. And Trevor's like, oh, he's crying. I was like, I don't think so. So we kind of like talked about it. Right when you got up there, you're like, oh. I was like, no! So getting your purple belt was like your most...
That was cool. I mean, just that whole, because I got it after Pan Am, so winning Pans was...
I forgot to even say that in the beginning. I wanted to introduce you and say Pan American champion.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I mean, it's a big deal.
Well, yeah,
competing at the highest level of jiu-jitsu.
I was emotional because, I did like an 8-week fight camp for that. It was 2 days, every day for 8 weeks straight, It sucked. So I was like...
Well, yeah,
preparing for it, then it paying off. So I was like, damn. I wish Rocky wouldn't have given me a purple belt. Because I wanted to go to Worlds at Blue and win that and then get my purple, but it didn't happen that way.
Yeah, that's fine. No, I mean, you won a huge tournament. That's like, I would say that's arguably what the top 3 tournaments to win in the world. Yeah, for sure.
Nogi Worlds, Pan Am.
It's ADCC. Winning that, if you're doing that, you're basically a Gordon Ryan status. And
seriously.
Favorite submission?
I really like, I like the paper cutter, Doug's specialty. That's been a good one.
Oh, from side control, some shit.
Like top
where you're trying to pressure them.
Any top, I don't like submitting from the bottom at all.
That's surprising. You usually
attack. I want to grind someone into the mat. That's what I want. That and head and arms. Those, I like those. If I can get those.
We can show it later.
But if the head's on this side and the legs are over here, this arm goes under the head. And some people do like a gable grip.
Sure, yeah.
I don't do that. I like getting my thumb in between. That's how Frankie kind of teaches things. Sure. It's a harder grip to get out of. but my elbow will slide across their chest into their neck.
Into
So
the
before I
different
catch down,
elbow.
I try to like dig my elbow into like their diaphragm when I first started, because that sucks, and lifted their head. But then people caught on and they started defending it, so I got to figure something out.
Yeah.
So that's your favorite submission?
That's probably my favorite.
The paper cutter?
The paper cutter.
All right. Well, like, what would you say moving forward in jiu-jitsu? Like, why do you come and train this hard and do the things you're doing daily? Like, what's for you? What's the goal initially to, to continue with your jiu-jitsu, as it's not like a huge paying sport unless you're
Right.
a top guy or at least aspiring to be. Like, what's your goal towards continuing to improve in this sport?
I mean, I think it'd be cool to own a gym one day and teach.
Sure.
But you can't teach unless you're at a high level.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
mean, right, you could teach beginners at a low level, but I don't want to teach that, right? I want more. But, I mean, I think that would be I enjoy teaching when I can, but in order to teach at a higher level, I have to be a higher level myself, so that'd probably be like a goal, is to own a gym one day.
Own a gym and then properly teach and show people
Right.
at a high level how to beat high level people.
Yeah, 'cause
essentially.
That's a long-term goal. Like the short-term goal, like right now, is like every black belt that's in middleweight winning IBJJFs, they have a target on their back. Like, I'm hunting those guys.
Yeah, sure.
And it's going to be a couple of years till I get there, but that's what I want to do. I want to win at the highest level and have those credentials.
This would be pretty good. I can't wait to hear this, because I actually been diving into these things myself, and I've been like, for some reason, I don't know why, but it's so intriguing to me. I can't stop looking at shit like this. But what's your fucking... Because I know you're onto some shit right now. This guy's always posting about the newest conspiracy. Vegan guy, which is nothing's bad about that. I eat meat. I do the opposite of the things he does. So, but no, he.
I honestly,
I mean, I'm...
well, there has to be a big one, because I
there
know
are
like
some,
3 off the top of my
But
head.
I'm not like one of those conspiracies where like I think the Earth is flat or something stupid.
Dude,
Weird shit. I don't think that, but geez, they have some compelling.
They sound convincing.
I'm being fooled. I think in the first 10 minutes of watching these videos, I'm definitely thinking, wow, what if they really were? That
I
kind of
know,
trips me up.
right.
So, but I don't think it's flat, but I don't know. Really, I feel that it's not.
Yeah.
But anyways, go ahead.
A couple, 2 that I'm like, one I'm like, I don't know, it makes me wonder, and the other one I'm like, I'm convinced. One of them is,
Yeah, let's hear
I'm
this one.
debating if I want to believe the moon landings are real.
That's a pretty standard one, I think. That's
Back then, it was a race against Soviet Russia, and if we went there in the '60s with like tinfoil and fucking plastic, but we can barely do anything now. It just makes you wonder, why haven't we gone back? Why spend all the money on the Hubble or the James Webb? Why not put one on the moon itself? I mean, well, the Hubble and James Webb can move around, but I feel like we can learn a lot more from the moon now.
saw some crazier things than what you're talking about this moon thing. So what convinced me that they might not have happened, when I say convinced me, it made me think into it a lot, was this. And I don't know if you heard this one yet, but so with the moon landing thing, apparently they had a separate team before the original team that was everyone's famous for, right?
Mm-hmm.
They had a team before that actually try and go, but the guy said that it's not possible for them to achieve this yet, and they didn't want to put their team at risk. It's an awful thing, and you can look this up on YouTube and whatever, but you can see that the original team was speaking out against going to the moon, and then what happened was the new team was all aboard doing it and pretending. That's why I was like, no, because they knew that it was going to be a fake thing,
Right.
and they were on board with doing it. Obviously, there are some payments involved, but
Right.
you can watch that whole thing on one of those conspiracies. But if you bring that up, that's the one that really made me think, holy crap, why would that? It's just coincidental things like that. Just in my mind, they just don't happen that way.
Yeah.
And then they showed like the spacesuit in a picture. I don't know if you've seen this one. But they showed a spacesuit in the picture, and the bottom of the boot was nothing like the boot prints.
Oh,
on this.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, this can't be real. This is so. Yeah, it was on some
And
Instagram
they could
thing.
film that from the moon live broadcast it.
Yeah,
All the TVs.
It was a bit odd. I thought.
360, yeah, it's
Yeah,
not-
I thought that one was a bit
Wasn't the
odd.
flag waving and there's no atmosphere on the moon, so the flag shouldn't be waving?
I
a
watched
lot
that
of
one
weird-
that you're talking about. I watched this like Instagram reel of it, and then I dove into it and I started looking. That's what I do. I watch like
Yeah.
an Instagram reel
you
of
gotta-
one
I
of
gotta
these,
search this.
and then I search it up. Yeah, big time. The flat Earth one, I don't really believe that.
No.
I mean, I'm hard pressed to even think that's remotely true. But
Right.
then there's one where like one that confuses me is people were sending rockets into the sky and saying that we can't actually get out of the sky. I don't get this one. I don't know if you ever seen that.
So I don't know how that really looked, like what
Yeah.
what that means.
It's hard
but
for us to gauge because you can
Yeah.
get a telescope and look and see the ISS floating around the space station, but the whole conspiracy about that is like how high is that and how much
I
higher
know
can
that's
you
what
go?
I'm.
Okay, so we talked a little bit about all that other stuff, and I want to ask you, like, what was your and during COVID, we had a coach who was happened to be our friend as well at the time. He got three of us into like a bouncing job where, if anybody doesn't know what a bouncer is, it's where you're essentially taking care of a bar or a club or whatever scene gets a little rowdy, and you have to take care of drunk people, essentially babysitting drunk people.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually scared to do it because I thought it's very dangerous. I'm like, man, I don't want to be dealing with a whole pack of drunk people all the time fighting, watching fights, thinking they can really fight.
Yeah.
So I was a little bit worried. But then Aaron, and I don't want to name drop, but Aaron, he was like, Devon, let me just put it this way. He's like, and I still laugh about this because he's like,
Yeah.
what happens when a new guy, a beginner, come into jiu-jitsu class or comes into MMA and tries to do the things we work on? I'm like, well, it just doesn't happen. You know, they think they're tough, and then it ends up
Right.
you end up just messing around with them and showing them new things and
fighting a
trying
toddler.
to learn. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, that makes sense. He's like, now imagine that happening at the bar, but the guy's drunk. I was like, okay. I was like, okay, it makes
Even
perfect sense.
yeah.
It's even easier.
Yeah.
But anyway, so he got us into, well, he got me and Doug into that, right? And then
Right.
you started because he got you the job there as well.
There was a guy, the last night I was there, screaming, yelling, cursing. There was children around, you know, and I just had to go tell him, hey, buddy, can you calm down? And it went from 0 to 100 like that. Like
As usual.
yeah, I'm like, dude, I'm just asking you to relax. There's fucking children. You're screaming. So he just like, you're not gonna do shit. I'll walk my tab. Blah 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 blah. Whatever. It's kind of embarrassing, this part, but I'll tell anyways. He's gonna go
Please.
leave. He's gonna leave the store to go to the front door, and he goes around these tables one way, and I go the other way to block him off. And he's like, "Oh, you're gonna stand in my way?" Blah, blah, you know. And he starts buffing his chest out, getting his hands ready, and I'm like, "I guess we're doing this." So I'm like, you know what? Like, everyone's gonna be on my side. If I punch, we're not supposed to hit the guy first.
Sure.
I broke that rule. I tried to break that rule. This was embarrassing. I said, fuck it, and I just went to throw it straight. And right when I was going to throw my punch, his friend grabbed him from behind and pulled him back. Said, bro, leave him alone, like, relax, like, trying to calm his friend down.
Sure.
My punch went, you know,
Right by it.
Nothing, dude, nothing. I hit air. And I was like, it's so embarrassing. So I just went in and shot for a double leg. His
Well, I
friends
mean,
pulled
what
him
can you
back.
do at this point?
I-
Being
yeah,
embarrassed,
yeah.
you can't.
So
You gotta
I
do
gotta put him
it.
on the ground. Like, so I grabbed his legs. I pulled his legs up. I'm holding his legs, and his friend behind him doesn't let go. So his friend behind him is holding him by like armpits.
Yeah.
While I have his legs. So he's just kind of like like a fucking hammock. And I'm like, dude, just let the guy go. Let him fall. Just let him go. I'll get on top. Hold him down. It'll be fine. So he finally lets him go. I get on top. He is just holding. He's a pretty big guy, so he's pretty strong. He's holding me down on top of him, but I'm on top, so I'm like, whatever, just hold me down here. He's trying to throw punches to my stomach, blah, blah, blah. I elbowed him, I don't know, 6-7 times to the head. Cut open his head.
I don't know, 6-7 times.
Yeah, something. Eventually, you know, these guys came and grabbed me, these guys came and grabbed him, separated it. He was all mad. He's like, I'll come back, I got something for you at home, I'll bring it back and show you.
Yeah, this is where it
And
gets
that's where
scary.
I'm
This
like,
kind of stuff is
what do you-
not.
yeah.
This is rough. Yeah.
So, I mean, finally we get him out, and now everything's chill, but he's screaming. He's like, I got something at home. I'll bring it to you. And I'm like, what you got at home, dog?
Yeah,
Like,
everyone knows what that means.
Yo, yeah. So he left, and I'm like, all right, whatever. You know, we got a little scuffle, no big deal. Nobody's hurt, bad, and everything's fine. Well, he did come back. That's what I was like. And he got in his truck, driving around the building a couple times, going slow, looking, you know.
Fuck.
And I'm like, maybe he does have a gun, you know.
You know, if I go out
Of
there.
course, he will.
Yeah, so I'm like.
You don't come back empty-handed after making a threat like
so
that.
I'm like, that was my.
That was my last straw. I was already burnt out working 2 jobs, doing this as much as I can.
Yeah.
So that's when I told Aaron, I'm like, dude, I don't want to deal with gun threats. Boomer jacks ain't worth it.
Sure.
Dog. You know. But
So that's.
hopefully-
I hope you guys can learn, you know, a little bit from Jake and myself, and gain any knowledge from this channel. And I really appreciate you coming out and spending time to do this with me. And again, it's a big deal for me, and I really do appreciate it. You're one of my good friends, so I value your time and this channel and these interviews. You know, showing you guys that what other people are capable of and all the things, whether it be jiu-jitsu, you know, any athletic thing or like I said, business stuff, artists, anything, like I said. So a good portion of that is going to be actually doing the actions of what we're talking about. And so Jake and I are going to do some live rounds and do some rolling and yeah, and let it go and see what happens, and then that's it. So.
Champion. I feel good. Thank you. That's good. Got a support level black.
Oh.
Best rashies in town. They're not in town, but they might be
On the market.
on the market.
Jake Fuller. Thank you again.
Thank you.